A man joining us also. London.
How are you,
Hello.
my friend? Okay, hang
I'm
on. How
good.
do I raise this? Hang on.
He does this purposely. Yeah, every time he does it every time. So he gets the first 2 minutes where the other
No,
person
no,
is very
no. I've got.
awkwardly would say.
Listen, I have actually got a mobile phone holder now. So the last time I was kind of balancing it on books. This time it's a little better and more stable. And okay, this is the best I can do here. I'm
It's okay.
technologically challenged. Is this good
You're,
enough?
you're looking very sharp and looking very good. I dressed up for you. You dressed down. This is
Bro, it's a Sunday. It's a Sunday.
I had Shashi Tharoor before this, which is why I had to do this, and probably 2 more layers on top of it. But
You were suitably accoutred for Dr. Tharoor.
he probably, for all you know, he's watching this, so I will not mimic him this time.
No. I love his books. I'm a big fan, and I'm a bigger fan of his language. So often, if there's tweets, if there's something I don't understand, like I message him, sir, I need your help. What does this mean?
No, honestly, that's what I was saying. You know, the Battle of Belonging, the book that he's written. I mean, irrespective of what side of the ideology you are on, the right or the left, the fact that it is a lesson both in terms of being Indian and also in terms of actually the dictionary and the language. It took me 18 days. It took me 22 days and 18 hours every day. Of course, in a slightly exaggerated manner, but to read the book, and I was like, I finished Amish's book despite him not sending it to me. So,
I sent you a copy. Hello.
lies, these are lies. But I'm going to be polite, and I'm going to introduce you and start the show with introducing you.
Okay.
So, for all the 2,000 odd people who are with us who do not know this gentleman, because everybody knows me. So, for the ones, I'm just joking. He doesn't need any introduction. He takes subjects which the next gen sometimes find boring and paints a picture which makes us believe in an immortal India. Someone who I admire, not because he's an author, the director of Nehru Center, not because he's a producer of a movie looking for young talented actors. That's what's written somewhere. So there are young talented actors available. In fact, new fresh faces who want to get launched. But
I'm seeing the hairstyle has improved quite a lot.
But I admire him not for all of this and not for being regularly featured somehow on the most powerful men's list of powerful people's list in our country. But I admire him because
Sorry. I never like to talk about those lists, but let's be politically correct. Not men, persons. Persons, not men.
I said people. I corrected myself immediately. I said let me not. I admire him not because of all of his above mentioned achievements. I admire this man for one reason, because he knows how to make a Gujarati boy who is going to review his book, buy the book and then only review it. This is the art. This is the kala. And that is why, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, today we have with us none other than Amish Tripathi. Amish.
Thank you.
Let me start by asking you this question. Your book is beautifully written. You have written about a plethora of subject areas, and I would love to cover all of them. But one of the things which caught my attention was the fact that you wrote about mythology, India's mythology. You always write about India's glorious mythology and history. All your books are quite legitimately about decoding the epics. Is it like a conscious choice when you sit to select a topic? And if so, why do you keep writing about India's glorious mythology and history all the time? Is it because J.K. Rowling has written everything about fiction that you've now chosen to write about India's? Or is there a specific reason? Because young authors are also watching this. There are many people in IIMUN who want to follow your footsteps. None want to follow mine somehow. But there are those few who...
They are following your leadership, my friend. They are following your leadership.
Well, they honestly ask that how do we become a successful author? Is it the subject area that matters, and why does Amish always write about India's mythology and history. What are your thoughts on that?
Two things. One, I may not always stick to this subject. Mythology and history are the English terms for it. In our own languages, the term that we use is itihasa, which is actually beyond history and mythology. Itihasa simply means thus it happened, and we are supposed to learn from it. So, two things on this. One, I do not intend to write on this all my life. In fact, there are two more books in the Ramchandra series. So the fourth book, tentatively titled War of Lanka, I am working on that already. And I noticed many people asking for that. And I assure you, it is not delayed. I'm working on it. It'll come out in the second half of this year, 2021. So there are.
I must interrupt and add that Amish is busy eating all the fabulous food in London, so he's forgotten to write these books. This is the little secret that I want to let you. Look,
restaurants are shut in London. We are in tier 4 lockdown. They are talking of tier 5 now, at which time we will not even be allowed to look outside a window. We are in that situation in London. Boss, I wish I was in India right now.
Well, we're eagerly waiting for your book. We're actually waiting for that fourth book that you did mention. I've heard so many young people, my friends also keep mentioning, when is he coming out with it? So are there plans to come out with this book? And again, coming back to the original question, sorry.
It's coming back. But coming back to the original question, there is another idea that I have, which I intend to take up post the Ramchandra series, which is called Leela, actually, the game of the gods. And that one is actually set in the modern day. And it has time travel and gaming, so very different from I think. So I might I might take up subjects outside of this as well. I don't think I'll write campus romance novels or anything, but stuff which is outside of the itihas structures, yes, that I will. But coming back to why I like to cover these stories. One of the key things that our ancestors used to say, and in the traditions of our, in our gurukuls and pathshalas, it was believed that there were two subjects everyone had to study. You could specialize beyond that. Some additional subjects could be taught, but two subjects everyone had to study. The first was mathematics. Unlike in the modern day where some people think maths can be a choice, it was not a choice. Everyone had to study it. Math is the language in which God wrote the universe. First is mathematics. Second is philosophy. Everyone had to study it. Because philosophy is the art of learning how to live. If you don't know how to live and you learn skills, it's like giving a sharp knife to a young child. The child will probably hurt itself more, right? And we used to learn philosophies in our ancient way through our stories, through our ethics, through the Ramayana and Mahabharata initially, and then through the Puranas, and we would learn philosophies and apply in our own life. We have lost that in our education system right now. So the hope is to try and, sing those stories and communicate some philosophies. And that's what one tries to do in this book.
Very well put. That's also very well put. Baba, I'm telling you, you're in the wrong profession. You should be in politics. I'm so seamlessly. I don't think any one of us realized. I don't think we realized. And then suddenly came. So, and that is what I've written in the book. Then we want to know more.
There you go. Not just me and my sister Bhavna.
And we've had that wonderful conversation with your sister, and I was asking you all this question, which I want to again, because this is an Instagram live, but your book is titled Dharma, with nothing to do with Karan Johar, as I am aware. That
he's a very dear friend, but this has nothing to do with Dharma Productions.
Is it written because he's going to be producing this book into a movie?
It's a non-fiction book. There's nothing to produce here.
Never know, Baba, you never know. But tell me, the book goes beyond religion, and technically, so do our scriptures like the Gita. However, you have found your Swadharma. You have quite honestly found what you want to do and what you consider as your Swadharma. However, in this book, you explore the concept of Dharma versus Swadharma. So part one of the question is, can you elucidate and elaborate what's the basic difference for an 18-year-old, and even for somebody like me, what is the difference between a Dharma and a Swadharma, which you write about in your book? And second is, how do you go about finding this Swadharma? Because after reading your book, I was like, समझ में तो आ गया थोड़ा बहुत, but इसमें how do you go about finding your own Swadharma?
Very, very good question. Very deep question. I'm impressed, Rishabh.
It's
Uh,
written it's written by a 16-year-old who's standing on the other side.
okay, my compliments to the 16-year-old. Okay, so look, let's get the obvious thing out of the way first.
Hmm,
Dharma is not religion. It is often erroneously translated as religion.
hmm,
Religion is merely panth, right?
hmm,
So dharma is something that is beyond religion, that is above religion, right?
hmm,
So dharma is not something that is applicable only to say so-called dharmic religions,
hmm,
Hindus, Buddhists, Jains, Sikhs. It
hmm,
also applies to Muslims, to Christians, because dharma is what? That which holds the universe in balance. And it doesn't
correct.
just apply to human beings, it applies to all living things. Right?
Hmm,
Dharma, the root of the word dharma is dhru, that which holds the universe in balance, that which binds it together.
hmm,
Adharma is that which unbalances the universe, that which breaks things up, right? So now dharma, there are various levels of dharma. Okay, there is the Sanatan dharma, which is timeless, right? No beginning, no end, which is above all of us, which are essentially principles. They are not rules. Rules are very human centric. They are principles
hmm,
of the existence of the universe.
hmm,
Then there is the dharma of the yug, which is the dharma of the age, right? You'll notice, for example, the age that we live in.
hmm,
Commercial success is a very important part of how countries do well. It wasn't
hmm,
so 700 years ago, right? Like the Turks, for example, were fantastic at the Yug Dharma of that time. The Turks were from Central Asia, which is violence, the art of violence. They were very good at it, so they became strong. Today, a country may be very good at violence, but if it has no commercial standing, it'll probably collapse, right? There's a Yug Dharma. Then there is the Kul Dharma, which is the Dharma of the community that you're in, the Dharma of the nation that you're in. And the fourth level is Swadharma, right? My own Dharma. If it's my task to discover my own Swadharma, it's not, no one else should tell me. If my Swadharma is not in alignment with my Kul Dharma, which is the nation I'm in, then I should pick another place, right? But the first question we have to answer is what is my Swadharma? What is my purpose? What am I supposed to
hmm,
do?
hmm.
Right? That's what Swadharma is. Uh, and there is no standard rules for this. It's a bit like being in love. No one tells you you're in love. You just know, right? And there is nothing like, if this is my Swadharma, then it's wrong for you. No, you have your Swadharma, I have my Swadharma. Both of us don't have to be in love with the same woman, right? Both of us can find two different men or women. I'm not being biased, but whoever, right? But it's if I find one woman the most beautiful in the world, that doesn't mean you have to agree with me. That's nonsense. I mean, you have a
Hmm.
right to find whoever you find the most beautiful. It's the
Hmm.
same way with Swadharma. The
Oh,
Swadharma of a soldier, for example, is to
hmm,
carry out violence,
hmm,
right?
hmm,
That's a Swadharma. That's what he's supposed to do at the border. The Swadharma of us ordinary citizens cannot be to carry out violence. If we want to carry out violence, then join the army, join the police. I mean, join a armed force, right?
hmm.
Or we have to discover, like my Swadharma, what gives me pleasure is writing, right? Your Swadharma is the organization you've set up. You've done it so well. No, seriously. I mean it genuinely, because it's all a
Hmm.
bunch of volunteers, right?
Yep.
Volunteers who are joining in for what? What are they getting out of it? If you think about it, you're not paying them anything. They're getting a sense of purpose, right? All the students who've joined in, all the IIMUN guys, because they get a sense of purpose, and you are giving them that purpose.
They
That
get
is your
they get
sadhana.
they get to meet you. That's also the one of the reasons why they're here. But
ये इसे कहते हैं मस्का.
इतना इतना बोला तो कुछ तो बोलना पड़ता ना. इतना इतना you said, "Hey, अरे Baba, you've done. There's a sense of purpose. There is so on so." But it was a deep philosophical answer that you gave.
But
But
the
let me.
key point I want to suggest to all your friends out there:
Hmm.
don't let anyone tell you what your swadharma is. Okay,
Correct.
you have to discover
Correct.
for yourself. All right, but realize what you're good at, what your swadharma is, and it was for all you know, it may be making ball bearings. No one has a right to laugh at your swadharma, right? If that is what gives you purpose, do that, right? But find what gives you purpose. Don't try and blindly ape someone else. It's like all of us being in love with the topmost actress is the stupidest thing to do, right? The
But
same
now
way with your Swadharma.
you mentioned ball bearings, which was also a part of the family business, and you mentioned IIMUN. So
Oh,
you've covered all of that,
I didn't know that.
and my mother reads your book, so she's watching this. So she'll be like, Rishabh, I know you don't work in the business. I know you don't work in the business. Look at Amish. Amish is telling you. But 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 Amish, you kept mentioning that
Hmm.
everyone doesn't need to be in love with the most beautiful actress in the country, correct?
Hmm.
And you kept mentioning that everyone doesn't need to love the same woman. So now
Hmm.
let me ask you a completely frivolous question. Because after such a deeply philosophical answer, if I want to ask you such a stupid question, then it wouldn't be IIMUN. So
Huh.
let me ask you, who is that very beautiful woman that you admire and that you say is the most beautiful woman on planet Earth?
My mother, who has actually seriously molded a lot of who I am today. My sister, who I've written my book with, she's an amazingly strong woman. She has passed through the ups and downs of life, and she has come out strong and unscathed. I really admire her. My sister-in-law, my ex-wife, who I continue to remain good friends with. I am lucky to be surrounded by really fantastic women.
And because you didn't answer the question in the way I wanted you to answer it, but you answered it very well.
Thank you. इसे कहते हैं in cricketing terms, well left. If there's a ball on the offside coming in that corridor of uncertainty, yeah, if you step forward, you might just get caught out. You just leave the ball well left.
A huge fan of Rahul Dravid and now Cheteshwar Pujara, no? Leaving the ball very well most of the time. I'll come back to this. I'll come back to this. But you also keep using mythological characters to explain how to lead a more meaningful life. Amish, I've read some of your work, and in most of your work, you keep mentioning, you keep referring to mythological characters. You talk about the importance of humility, the fact that you should not be angry, greedy, etc. in life. Now, all scriptures say this, but when you are living in the Kalyug, when you're living in a Kalyug where essentially the education system focuses on only one thing, दैट शर्मा जी की बेटी को देखो, अभी ये कर रही है, कल वो कर रही है, अभी तो आईएएस पास हो गया और अभी आप क्या कर रहे हो? तो
तुम
दिस इज
निठल्ले क्या कर रहे हो?
करेक्ट यही सेम चीज. बट द आइडिया इज दैट चैप्टर ऑफ एनवी, यू सेड दैट यू शुड नॉट बी envious. You've advocated principles and these models in the book. How can you not be envious when the first thing that you're taught in the school education system is to be competitive, and if you do not come first, then that's the time that you get affected the most? And like they say in that movie Three Idiots, that dukh is baat ka nahi hota hai that friend failed. Dukh is baat ka hota hai that the friend came first and we barely passed. So this is something that, but this is something that is part and parcel of the education system. And how do you've advocated for all these principles in the book? I'm saying, how realistic are these principles in day to day? How realistic is it? How possible is it for a young person to actually implement these principles in day to day life?
Rishabh, I think you've hit the nail right on the head. And one of the things that we advocate in this book, Dharma, repeatedly, promoting it again, is actually this concept of balance. Ati sarvatra varjait. It's one of the lines that comes down to us from our ancestors. Extremism of any form should be avoided. So when I'm saying that humility is good, I'm not saying that you should be a doormat. Right? So don't be so humble that people walk all over you. Right? But have a sense of balance. Because if you don't have some ego, what will drive you to work hard? Right? So a sense of pride is good. Excess pride is not good. Sense of humility is good. Excess humility is not good. Right? You have to have a sense of balance in everything. It's the same with anger. One of the things that comes down in our from our ancestors is that every emotion that exists for a purpose. Right? You use that emotion to make yourself grow. So anger also serves a purpose. Look, I'm a worshipper of Lord Shiva. One of the things that defines our God is his anger, right? But And even Plato in the Republic said that there is a value to anger because it drives you towards the need for justice. Righteous indignation is the fuel for the desire for justice, right? But excess anger is not good, right? So it's the same thing I would probably suggest with envy as well. If someone goes ahead of us and say you get a sense of envy, okay, and
Correct.
say you use that emotion as a fuel, not to
Hmm.
pull that person down, not to hate that person, but to drive yourself कि अगर वो यहाँ तक पहुंचा है तो मैं भी वहां तक पहुंचूंगा, एटलीस्ट ट्राई तो करूंगा,
Hmm.
correct? Then it becomes positive. But if envy becomes extreme, if it starts, if you start hating that person, if you waste your mind space thinking of how to pull that person down,
Hmm.
how's that good for you? Forget about it. That person won't even know. You're hurting yourself. It's corrosive to yourself. The key principle, if there is one, that comes down from our ancestors, is this: Ati sarvatra varjait. Extremism of any kind should be avoided. But every emotion has some purpose. One of the things that Lord Shiva teaches us, there is a value to darkness as well, right?
Correct.
Because darkness gives light purpose, right? So you will get some dark emotions too. Use that to grow, right? If you surrender to it and become extremist with that, then it's bad, right? So, like I said, a bit of ego is good. It drives you. Bit of envy is good. It drives you. Extremism, not good. Bit of anger is good. Drives you towards justice. Extremism of that, not good. Have a sense of balance. That's all. And focus on yourself. How do I make myself grow? That's all.
But Amish, the sense of balance that you talk about, the fact that you say that, extremism in no form is good. Now, in our country today, let me ask you this, because you speak about inclusivity, you speak about all of these things, which are high moral standards. You're a public figure. You're in position of influence and power. When you see things that are going wrong in society, now that could be a particular issue or something that is central to your beliefs, and you think that it's not correct. A 16-year-old and 17-year-old does not have the same position that you have to be able to effect change, the power to effect change. They get very irritated, they get very frustrated. They are reading your book called Dharma on one side, see the seamless plugin. Man, we did it again.
Thank you.
I need the 3 million pounds that we spoke about, huh?
Yeah, it's coming.
Like my book, no, like my book, it's yet coming. But there is this dharma concept, the fact that we are told that you stay by these principles and so on and so forth, and then the other side, suddenly there's something that happens in the country which we're very worried and very passionate about, because we believe in a specific ideology or we believe in those certain things, and those are very subjective in nature, so I won't get into that. But I've seen so many students participate from IIMUN in protests across the country in the recent 2.5 to 3 years. And how do you balance, how do you bring about that sense of balance? Because you can't affect change. So the only thing that you then start doing is protesting. So is there that middle path between the two? Or do you think that is the natural, that is the natural effect that will be caused by trying to, like, the balance is in terms of protesting? Do you think the balance is brought about in terms of protesting, or do you think that there is a central path per se?
Look, I'm a Democrat and a liberal, so therefore I defend the right to protest. Okay, there's a difference between India and the country to our north, which is trying to invade us, and I would much rather live with 0.5 or 1% lower GDP growth and have all our freedoms, right? Than actually surrender all this and get 1%, 2% extra growth. Poverty will come down. We are growing, but our freedoms are. This is who we are. This is what India is actually about. So, whether I agree or disagree with the protest, I will always defend the right for anyone to do peaceful protest. Peaceful protest. No violence. Violence is not allowed. Okay, that is wrong. Then the state has the right to crack down on you. But peaceful protest it is not just our right, it is also our duty on things that we feel passionate about. The key thing
Correct.
I want to suggest is this, and through you to all your, your friends, your followers, all on IIMUN. Is it IIMUN or IIMUN?
IIMUN is also great. IIMUN is also great.
Okay,
Both are
okay,
fine.
chalo. So
Both.
IIMUN. So the key thing is this, that you have to pick your issues, okay? Because if we try and protest or do something about everything, in effect we do nothing. Because then all that we are doing is actually just putting up a tweet or a Facebook post that is not affecting change, right?
Correct.
All of us have to pick what issue truly matters to us and then work hard on that, because one of the things you realize as you grow old, I'm 46, is that boss, making change is not so easy, right? So if you dissipate your energies over 500 things, you
Hmm.
will achieve nothing. And by the time you're 50, you will think, yaar, maine kuch achieve nahi kiya.
Hmm.
Focus on two or three things which are important to you. Like, for example, much of the charity work, the stuff that I do, is on education. I think that is the most critical thing. That's what I like to focus on. I like to focus on things which are dependent on, which are based on our culture, on our traditions. That's what I speak on, even in the UK. I will not, I might have some views on, say, social issues in the UK or US,
Hmm.
but I don't speak on that because, frankly, A, I am not a specialist on it. B, what change will I affect? Right? So the key thing is this: find what are the three, four issues that are critical to you. Because ultimately, it's not about talking or putting up social media posts. It's actually about making a change at the level where it matters on the ground. Right? So pick a few issues. Don't talk on everything under the sun. Could be environment, could be, pick three or four, and then you'll also realize making change is damn hard. Okay, you have to
Hmm.
find allies, you have to find, sometimes you might not agree with people you are working with, right? They may have some issues where you think, hey, sala, ye kya bol raha hai? But on that one issue you agree. So find an alliance out there and make some change out there. It's the practicalities of making change happen. You need a bit of idealism, but you need pragmatism as well. Just idealism doesn't get the work done. Look at someone like Mahatma Gandhi. He was idealistic, no doubt,
Hmm.
but he was
Hmm.
pragmatic as well. He knew how to build alliances. He was a politician as well, right? Find a mix of both, and you'll actually get things done.
Find a mix of both and you'll actually get things done. And focus on a few issues, don't focus on the entire world. So he's basically telling me, Rishabh, see, you don't focus on United Nations, one nation at a time. But
No, 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 no. Because of focus can be width or it can be depth. So width can be, putting everyone together as you are doing, and you get people to focus on depth. So
I just on a light comical note, but Amish, tell me this. You keep mentioning all of these things, and it's very good for intellectual academic purposes. But on ground, when a 17-year-old feels that an issue is very passionate about an issue, like when I was 17, I was passionate about why is there no parking space available in Malabar Hill. And a few years later, I'm yet very passionate about that issue, saying why is there no parking space available in Malabar? But like you said, it's very difficult to effect change. It's almost
hmm,
impossible for an 18-year-old or a 19-year-old to effect change. On one end,
hmm,
you talk about compassion, you talk about utopian principles, like you said, and the other end you say that you can effect change and you can bring about that change. Now, Greta Thunberg is a classic example. She's been
hmm, hmm.
crying aloud about climate change, but let's be honest and realistic and, like you said, pragmatic in trying to assess the amount of climate change impact that she's been able to make. It's tremendous. It's tremendous. She's raised the profile of the entire, the whole world's talking about Greta and more so about climate change. But then you have part-time comedians, full-time presidents, or full-time comedians, part-time presidents, not agreeing to the concept and the very nature of what is climate change. Now, when a young person sees this, they feel frustrated, Amish. If you were 18 and you were to tell your 18-year-old self, what would you tell the 18-year-old self who's so passionate on climate change but is seeing that there's nothing that's moving when it comes to climate change?
You know, I think the thing on climate change again, is if Greta Thunberg, for example, is essentially raising the issue and raising
Something. Right.
awareness on it, right?
Right.
But the real change will happen through scientists, right?
Hmm.
Uh, the reality of the situation is that many of the Western kids also, and I'm in the West in London right now, they may be passionate about climate change, but
Hmm.
are they willing to give up their smartphones? Are they willing to go back and live the lifestyles that many young people in third world countries live? Because their lifestyle itself has a huge carbon footprint, including including Greta Thunberg. Her carbon footprint itself is equal to probably some 500 or 1,000 Indian children in a village, right? So one way is for all the rich kids to sacrifice, that no, we will not lead these lifestyles. We will not expect an air condition in our house. We will not expect to travel abroad for holidays. We will not eat meat. Among the greatest climate change causes is actually meat, right? The meat industry. So now, either you make these sacrifices or actually encourage scientists to find solutions. Like Elon Musk if vehicles can move to non-fossil fuels, that's a massive change that will happen. Now, Elon Musk will not come across as a kind of leftist liberal cool guy. He's more a engineer, but he will end up having an impact as well, right? Or someone who there is research going on artificial meat, matlab lab created meat. So it'll have the same taste. So if you're addicted to that taste, you can have it, but it will reduce massively the meat production factories, especially in the West, which are a huge source of climate change. Public transportation. So in Malabar Hill, for example, rather than finding parking spaces, everyone can somehow just get together, make sure the metro gets built in Mumbai as fast as possible, right? In
Hmm.
Hong Kong, even the richest people don't bring their cars out because
Hmm.
it's just too inconvenient. It's better to travel in the metro. What that will
Hmm.
do is reduce dramatically the fossil fuel consumption in Mumbai. So metro is not just about convenience. It massively reduces the carbon footprint and is better for the environment. So everything that every Mumbaiker can do to get the metro built as fast as possible is actually a climate change movement. Now, again, what I was saying, these are the pragmatic realities of life, right?
Correct.
And if you want to cause change, then think about what are the things you can do which will actually have an impact on the ground. Like I just made a suggestion, if there are guys in Mumbai or across India, push public transport. Public transport massively reduces the carbon footprint of all of us, right?
Correct.
Rather than getting your personal cars out.
Correct. Very, very true. I switched off my AC immediately. As soon as you said it, I gestured to the 16-year-old girls.
I can see you sweating right now. Yeah, yeah.
Remember when you're looking for young, good-looking actors who now make their hair properly. There is one in Bombay.
And have a smooth beard as well. Yeah, yeah.
It's very, very properly done. And who young
Manicured.
people in IIMUN are anyway saying now you're becoming old. Now give it to a new young president in IIMUN. So now if Amish gives me an alternative profession, I will definitely do that. But let me take you, Amish, to another central point in your book. You say focus on the present. Now, this is again a life lesson. You keep saying that focus on the present, don't focus on the future, don't focus on the past. Parents keep saying this, saying if you don't focus on the future and don't know where you're going to go, then how will you focus on the present? Because only on the basis of the future do you make a present plan. Now, this is something that again we are taught from childhood. Now, isn't there a dichotomy in the entire idea and the notion that you propose vis-a-vis what the parents are saying? The parents are saying to focus on something else, you are saying focus on something else, and 15-year-old is confused what to focus on because they can barely focus on me and you. So
okay, so this again you have hit on a very, very important point, and again the principle I'd apply in this is ati sarvatra varjayat. Avoid extremism of one kind. Look at balance. Okay. Being in the present moment is a path to happiness. Okay. So keep saying when they're thinking of happiness or being peaceful or being mindful, they keep saying be in the present moment. They keep saying all our great masters, our ancients kept saying breathe. Why? Why focus on your breathing? Because breathing is the only thing that is in our conscious control, that is always in the present moment. Otherwise, our mind is all over the place, either in the past or the future. So being in the present moment gives you happiness and peace. But if you want to be great, if you want to achieve things, then you have to keep thinking of the future or thinking of the past, because you have to have some dream which drives you, right? If you want to achieve things, if you want to be great, and that dream will be 5 years out, 10 years out. So again, I suggest a balance. You have to have a mix of both. If you are so obsessed with your dreams, if you're so obsessed with being great that you don't enjoy your present moment, then life becomes niras. There's a lovely Hindi word, niras, without, the exact translation is without juice, but that's not the real meaning of it. It's without pleasure, without life, right?
Without the spice,
So
without the colors of life.
without the colors of life. But if you're just in the present moment all the time, you're just obsessed with being happy, then you're in a way a bit like a drugged out moron. You're not thinking about what my dream should be, what should I achieve in life. So again, sense of balance. There are times when you should meditate, times when you focus on the present moment, and that gives you moments of peace, moments of happiness. And there are times when you should think, yeah, this is where I want to be 10 years later. These are my dreams. And those things will drive you towards greatness. Again, have a balance between the two. So in a sense, listen to what you're thinking also. Listen a bit to your parents. Don't listen too much to them. Don't listen too much to yourself. Find some balance.
Find a balance. Basically, don't go extreme right, don't go extreme left. Be somewhere in the center, and in the conversation, you will find out which side Amish is on.
I'm in the center. Yeah.
I have to do this with you. It's a lot of fun because I know you take it sportingly well. But let me also ask you this question: the number of characters that you've used in these 9 books that you've put together, and number of characters. Now, if there is one quality that you could pick up from each character that I name, and which is something that you think the next generation it's very vital for them to imbibe. So I'll name you the character, you give me the quality.
Okay. Okay.
This is a better one than the one that we did last time, because last time I asked you to name the people. Amish is like I remember that. Not a pleasant experience. But I'll name you the person. So Lord Ram. When somebody says Ram, what's the first thought that comes to mind?
Following the laws.
Following the laws. When somebody says Karna,
that's something I think we Indians could certainly learn from. Many of us Indians, we like to break the laws even if there's no selfishness in it. We just बस कानून तोड़ना है. क्यों तोड़ना है? बस तोड़ना है. तो I think we can learn from Lord Ram that let's start following the laws at least a little bit. The country will become a little more manageable.
When I say Karna, what's the first thought that comes?
Karna. Loyalty, but carried to an extreme. Loyalty is a good quality, but when it's carried to an extreme, it turns negative. You should always be questioning who you're loyal to, and if that person deserves your loyalty.
You're correct. The politically correct answer would be I'm loyal to my readers. I give them a book one after the other. Which
yeah. I am, and here's my book, my latest book. Well done.
When I say Duryodhan, what is the first character? What is the first trait that comes to mind?
Envy. Duryodhan, what essentially drove him was envy, and his feeling that he deserved that that throne and not Yudhishthira. And Again, Duryodhan shows the corrosive effect that envy can have, that excess envy can have.
Excess. Right. Hanuman.
Mm.
Hanuman, when
Good,
somebody says Hanuman.
good loyalty. Okay, but he was lucky that he was loyal to someone like Lord Ram,
Ha.
and Karn in that sense was unlucky that he was loyal to someone like Duryodhan, you know. But the other thing which is most distinct about Lord Hanuman, many people may not know. There was a time when he had forgotten his power, he'd forgotten his
Correct.
strength, and he'd actually thought he was weak. And someone had to remind him, and then he rediscovered his true power, and then he could
Hmm.
start fighting people. I think that in some ways is almost symbolic of India as well. I think
Hmm.
we as a country often don't realize how strong we are, right? We are in terms of population, the second largest country in the world. In terms of economy, the fifth largest country in the world. And often we behave like we are powerless. I'm not saying we have to be stupid and crazy and go picking fights with anyone, but we are a damn strong country. And we should remember that. We should remind ourselves of that. If anyone comes and picks a fight with us, we will not go to conquer another land. We've never done that. But you pick a fight with us, dude. एक झापड़ मारोगे हम दूसरा गाल नहीं दिखाएंगे हम मुक्का मारेंगे. We have to have that kind of attitude. Yeah?
गांधी
We
जी ने
will
वही
we will not we will not hit first, but we will hit back. We will hit back, and that anyone who tries to invade us must remember.
I'm a huge fan of the movies, which is why in one of these popular movies it was said that गांधी जी ने बोला था कि एक गाल पे चाटा मारे तो क्या करना चाहिए, पर ऐसा नहीं बोला था कि जब दूसरे गाल पे चाटा मारने की कोशिश करे तब क्या करना चाहिए.
तब क्या
So
करना
that is
चाहिए?
why.
See, the way I see it, we are the only pre-Bronze Age culture that is still alive today.
Very
Every
true.
other pre-Bronze Age culture has been wiped out. The same invaders who came here, the Turks and Europeans, went to those cultures as well. They surrendered. We didn't surrender. Why? Because our ancestors kept fighting. We are not cowards. We are the toughest buggers around. We are the only ones who are still alive. So we should remind ourselves of that. We are really tough guys. We don't go outside to conquer other lands. But if you come to us, you try and attack us, we will hit back. And we will hit back hard.
There is no doubt about it, and we are hitting back hard across our nation's borders, and I think that's something that's changing. Amish, I'm seeing this pulse in young Indians across and in Indians
Yeah,
across
yeah.
the world that India is no longer that feeble nation full of
No,
snake
we're
charmers
not.
that people thought of. It's a young, vibrant democracy of 600 million young people. जिनको आप एक बार चाटा मारोगे तो वो आपके पीछे आएंगे.
Correct.
And
And we are not, look, we are not trying to conquer other lands. We are not trying to force our way on others. We are not. We are peaceful
correct.
guys. But yes, that thing we should remember, we have the strength to hit back. And if someone hits us, we will hit back.
We will hit back. And talking about hitting back, Bhishma. When I say Bhishma, what is the thought that comes to your mind?
Ah, sacrifice. But the thing that is worth thinking about is, did his sacrifice help others? Often there's an ego attached to sacrifice. देखो मैंने कितना बलिदान किया है. And one of the things we write in this book, Dharma, by Amish and Bhavna Roy, one of the things we write in this book is Bhishma Pitama
Ah,
should have realized that he would have actually made a capable ruler. He would have been a good ruler for his kingdom, for his people. And a ruler's duty is to work for the good of his people. So by him sacrificing it, he wasn't making a sacrifice for himself. He actually hurt his own people, right? And that's something. And what did he sacrifice for? He didn't sacrifice, for a nobler principle, or for the common people. He sacrificed because his father, who had already lived his life and enjoyed life, fell in love once again. That's why he
correct.
sacrificed. Is that a good enough reason to sacrifice? Is that a reason why you should sacrifice the interests of the common people? And the thing we put across is perhaps not. No.
No, very, very true. And that, like you said, try to maintain the balance also when you are even sacrificing. At till what extent should you be sacrificing? Because Fortunately or unfortunately, we live in a yug called the Kal Yug. Let me ask you the last
The key
character.
thing, if I can just say, the key thing, the one of the key principles in dharma is that if you can set aside selfishness, that's one of the key principles in dharma, right? And selfishness is not just about material; it can also be about ego. You know, people will say, "Look at me, look how great I am." That's also selfishness, right?
Very true. Very, very true. Uh, Philosophy, mythology, history, um, and so many more subjects that you write about in your book. Sometimes they go like a bouncer on a fast pitch, therefore I duck them. But some I understand, and but the way you explain it, and therefore these sessions are necessary. I think the way you explain it and the way then it's elucidated in your book,
Thank you.
the book, the way it is elucidated in your book is something that I think will explain these moral principles much better than what we study in our value education classes. But let me ask you this last tricky character, Ravan. When I say Ravan, what is the one
Ooh.
quality?
Uh, anger, anger and ego. Uh, was life unfair to Ravan? Yes. And I'm talking about the way Ravan is written in my book, but even in the traditional thing, was life unfair to him? Yeah. But life was unfair to Lord Ram also. Life was unfair to Goddess Sita also. Often, life is not about what happens to you. It is about how you react to what happens to you, right? Uh, and if you react like Ravan, with anger, with ego, you usually make things even worse. And look, who hasn't suffered? Every single one of us, you, me, everyone watching this broadcast, all of us have been through ups and downs in life. That is a reality of life, boss. Everyone has. Sometimes we get more than we deserve, sometimes we get less than we deserve, sometimes life really hits us hard. There's grief, there's anger, but if you react like Ravan to those in those times, you'll only make things worse for yourself. So I guess that's the thing to learn from Ravan that yes, anger, ego, they're natural at times, but try and control it in your own selfish interest. Forget about others. It's in your own selfish interest. Try and control it.
Try and control it, because otherwise the anger will get the better of you. You should learn how to
And you'll
channelize
spoil
the
your own life. You'll spoil your own life. Yeah. As Ravan did.
as Ravan did. So be Ram, don't be Ravan, and channelize the anger. Don't let the anger channelize you. That is the message that
Ah, well put. Well put. Rishabh,
I've
you
not.
should start writing. You should start writing a book. And then I will be on the screen above. You can be on the screen below. Oh, okay. Okay. So we have to do an event at the Nehru Center now on that book.
Sure.
Yes, yes,
Okay.
yes. Yes,
Ladies and gentlemen,
100%. That is
this is
happening.
breaking news. An open mic is going to the Nehru Center. You know, mine is not a book on philosophy and mythology and history. It's a very simple book on an introvert's journey in an extrovert's world. How the impossible can be broken up into I am possible. But I think
No,
in
no,
a
no,
huge
no, no,
way,
no, no, one thing. Introvert, you.
I swear
Seriously.
I couldn't speak.
Seriously.
For the love of God, I couldn't speak. I barely
Oh,
could
come on.
speak.
Oh, come on, come on. यार इतना झूठ मत बोलो कि सुनने वाले को पाप लग जाए.
Ari Baba, this is also written keeping in mind your friend Karan. All right. So
Ah.
I'm sorry, Karan. No, he's very kind of organized also. But the idea is that I was an introvert who couldn't speak. Trust me, Amish. I
Wow.
landed up crying in the first conference that I went for, where I was supposed to speak. I was in grade
Really?
seven. About 4,000 people laughed at me. And then from there on, that journey of not being able to speak to now today, people saying, "Bas kar do ab, abhi aap chale jao,
Huh?
Amish ko baat karne do." So
Wow.
that is the journey that is encapsulated, and the fact that anything is possible. Like if you believe that you want to land up doing something, then you can go about achieving it. Like look at you, like look at you, the amount of things that you've achieved in such a short
Banker,
span.
writer, पता नहीं क्या क्या किया है मैंने. It might appear like I have no clue what I'm doing. No focus.
yours, yours actually, like all the jokes apart and all the good things that I would have to say apart, the real thing that I really admire about you is that you were on a very conventional life trajectory. आप banker थे, काफी successful थे life में. You left everything. You came back and said, चलो अभी पुस्तक लिखते. और let me be honest, before you started writing and before in this last 10-15 years, when books have picked up in a big way because young people are now reading and so on and so forth, books in comparison to your high paying job in Singapore, there is no comparison in terms of pecuniary transactions, and you actually took the road less traveled. This is not a part of the book. This is not part of the questions, but I want to ask you this honestly, as a friend and somebody whom I look up to. Is that, don't you think it was a hard, tough life choice? And to the young people who want to be authors, is it better to take that conventional route of पहले investment banker बन जाओ और उसके बाद author बनो, या फिर is it okay if you dream big and you say that no, I want to become the next Amish Tripathi?
Yeah, I would say again out here, the principle I've been speaking of till now, balance, right? So don't swing on any extreme. So I had an idea for a book, for example. I started writing, but I didn't immediately go and tell my boss and kick him कि भाड़ में जाओ मैं लिखने जा रहा हूँ. I resigned only after my second book. Only when my royalty check became more than my salary. I wrote my first 2 books along with my job. What that meant is I was working 7 days a week, 14, 15 hours a day. Okay, I was doing nothing besides my job and writing my books and promoting my books. Nothing else besides these two. But if you want to find your dreams, you have to be willing to work hard. That's the way I see it. And there is no dishonor in being pragmatic here. That boss, I come from a middle class family. I had bills to pay, and my job was paying me well. And I will resign only once I have made one can see this career. That's what being pragmatic is about. Follow your heart and your mind.
And that is what,
find a balance between the two.
And that is what this book talks about.
An open mic. We are doing that event. It's at the Nehru Center. It is on.
No, we will, but and I'm looking forward to that. But honestly, Amish, it's been a pleasure talking to you, because your book, and I must recommend your book for no other reason but the fact that when I picked up a copy, when I kind of understand a little more about what the purpose of the book is. The purpose of the book is little more than explaining you what Dharma is all about. It's basically about teaching you how to live a meaningful life. And Amish would say that means the same thing, but for the ones who see that differently, the idea is that he's picked up popular characters in Indian mythology, utilized those references, and explained how to lead life. Now, it's basically like an exciting book for the 21st century teenager to understand not just the epics, but how to lead an epic life. So that you don't just need to hustle, but you can find a balance. So the hustling is not the only thing that you need to do. So I recommend the book, not because Amish has promised me £3 million, not because he's bribing me with a session in the Nehru Center, not because of any of these things, but because it's honestly an excellent read. Boys and girls, pleasure doing this, and thank you, Amish, for spending time and doing this.
Thanks, my friend. Thank you. Thank you so much. Bye.